story also pointed out issues between Jeanie Buss and LeBron James.
The Lakers owner just went public with how she really feels about LeBron James. And what she said about Bronny, it changes everything we thought we knew about this father-son experiment. Because behind closed doors, the tension was way worse than anyone imagined. The bombshell report that shook the Lakers. In January 2026, a bombshell report dropped that pulled back the curtain on everything happening behind closed doors at the Lakers organization. And what it revealed was messy, complicated, deeply personal, and honestly kind of shocking even for people who thought they had seen it all. It all started with a man named Baxter Holmes. Now, if you follow the NBA closely, you know that name very well. He's one of ESPN's top investigative reporters, a guy who doesn't just write stories, but unearths them from places that most journalists can't even access. And when he publishes something, the entire basketball world stops what it's doing and pays very close attention. And on January 21st, 2026, he published a piece that sent absolute shockwaves through that world. The article was titled "How Buss Family Infighting Drove the 10B Sale of the Lakers," and it was a deep dive into the long-standing feuds, power struggles, and bitter rivalries within the Buss family that ultimately led to the franchise being sold to billionaire Mark Walter, co-owner of the Dodgers, for a staggering $10 billion valuation. Now, the family drama itself was juicy enough to fill an entire Netflix documentary. We're talking about siblings turning on each other, backdoor power plays, firings of blood relatives, and a level of dysfunction that would make even the most seasoned reality TV producer sit up straight and start taking notes. But buried inside that sprawling, deeply reported story was something that caught everyone's attention, even more than the Buss family infighting. It was the revelation about how Jeanie Buss, the woman who has been running the Lakers for years, the woman who navigated the post-Jerry Buss era and held the franchise together through chaos, truly felt about LeBron James.
The Lakers are having a strong start to the season, sure. However, things off the court might not be as strong.
And that right there sets the stage perfectly for everything that was about to come out. Because according to the ESPN report, things off the court were far worse than anyone on the outside could have possibly imagined.
The story also pointed out issues between Jeanie Buss and LeBron James.
Issues is putting it extremely mildly. The article stated that Jeanie privately grumbled about what she felt was James's outsized ego and the overt control that he and Clutch Sports exerted over the organization at times. Now, Clutch Sports, of course, is the agency run by Rich Paul that represents both LeBron and Anthony Davis, giving them enormous, almost unprecedented leverage over the franchise's decision-making process at virtually every level. And apparently, Jeanie didn't love that one bit. She felt like the tail was wagging the dog, like her own organization was being steered by forces outside her control, and that bothered her deeply. But it gets worse, much worse actually. The report also said that she didn't like that James was considered a savior for the floundering franchise when he arrived in 2018, and that it was he who chose the Lakers, rather than the team's leadership receiving praise for landing him. Let that sink in for a second. The owner of the Los Angeles Lakers was reportedly bothered, genuinely frustrated, that the general public and the media gave LeBron James credit for choosing to come to Los Angeles, instead of giving the front office credit for being good enough to recruit him. That is absolutely wild when you think about it. And then there was the Russell Westbrook situation, which is a wound that clearly never fully healed. Remember that trade? The one that was supposed to push the Lakers over the top and create a super team, but instead resulted in a disastrous 33-49 season that had everyone pointing fingers? Well, according to the report, tensions reportedly worsened after the 2021 Russell Westbrook trade, and Jeanie allegedly mused about not extending James or even trading him. She reportedly walked around the organization feeling like LeBron didn't accept accountability when everything went south with that particular deal.
Some of the folks that they got rid of, the Kyle Kuzmas of the world, and the ability to re-sign Alex Caruso and others, you know, it had his fingerprints.
And that fingerprint comment is absolutely crucial to understanding the full picture here. Because when you step back and look at the moves the Lakers made during LeBron's time there, a lot of them had his influence written all over them, whether people wanted to admit it publicly or not. They traded away Kyle Kuzma, they let Alex Caruso walk to the Chicago Bulls for nothing, they moved Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, all in the name of building around what LeBron wanted and what Clutch Sports was pushing for. And when those moves didn't pan out the way everyone hoped they would, Jeanie apparently felt like LeBron ducked the blame and let the front office take the heat. But here's the thing that made this story go from simply dramatic to absolutely explosive and impossible to ignore. It wasn't just about the Westbrook trade or the power dynamics with Clutch Sports, it was about Bronny. According to Holmes' reporting, when the Lakers drafted James's son Bronny with the 55th pick in the 2024 draft, Jeanie privately remarked that James should be grateful for such a gesture, but she felt that he wasn't. She viewed drafting Bronny as a goodwill gesture, an act of loyalty and good faith that deserved some kind of reciprocation and appreciation. And when she didn't feel like she got that from LeBron, it only made the existing tensions significantly worse. Now, as soon as this article went live and started spreading like wildfire across social media, Jeanie Buss knew she had to get ahead of the narrative fast, and she did. She issued a statement to The Athletic that read,
"It's really not right, given all the great things LeBron has done for the Lakers, that he has to be pulled into my family drama."
She continued by saying that to suggest she wasn't appreciative was just not true and completely unfair to him. She even went as far as changing her Instagram profile picture to a photo of her embracing LeBron after the 2020 championship, which is about as clear a piece of damage control as you're ever going to see from a billionaire franchise owner. And LeBron himself, well, he responded 2 days later after a loss to the Clippers with the calm demeanor of a man who has been dealing with drama and narratives for over 2 decades. He said he thought it was good, but somebody could see it another way. It's always two sides of the coin. Then he added something that only a man who has been in the spotlight since he was 16 years old could say with a straight face. "I'm 41 years old and I watch golf every day. I don't care about an article." His agent Rich Paul was even more blunt and dismissive about the whole thing. On his Game Over podcast with Max Kellerman, Paul simply said, "Who gives a S? I don't." He called the whole thing clickbait, dismissed it as propaganda designed to disrupt the team's chemistry, and stressed that he, LeBron, and their entire camp had felt great since arriving in Los Angeles back in 2018. But the damage was already done. The story was out there for the whole world to see and dissect, and it raised a question that has been simmering underneath the surface of the Lakers organization for a very long time now. Is LeBron James overprotecting his son Bronny, and has that dynamic caused real, tangible problems within the franchise? The overprotection problem. To truly understand why so many people believe LeBron is overprotecting Bronny, you have to first understand what Bronny walked into when he entered the NBA. This wasn't some random, anonymous second-round pick trying to quietly make a name for himself on a rebuilding team where nobody would be watching. This was the eldest son of arguably the greatest basketball player who has ever lived, joining the exact same team as his father, making history as the first father-son duo to play together in NBA history. The spotlight was always going to be absolutely blinding no matter what happened on the court, but what happened next made it 10 times brighter and 10 times more intense. Let's start with the numbers, because they paint a very clear and honest picture of the uphill battle Bronny has been facing since day one. During his rookie season, he appeared in just 27 games, averaging a mere 6.7 minutes per contest, with 2.3 points, 0.7 rebounds, and 0.8 assists per game, while shooting 31.3% from the field. Those are not numbers that inspire confidence from anyone, and critics were extremely quick to point that out at every possible opportunity. But here's where the story gets more interesting and more nuanced than the hot takes would have you believe. In the G League with the South Bay Lakers, Bronny was a completely different player. He was averaging 22.6 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 4.4 assists on 39% three-point shooting, proving that he could actually play basketball at a high level when given consistent minutes and real opportunities to develop. The gap between his G League production and his NBA output was absolutely massive, and it fueled the ongoing debate about whether he was truly ready for the big stage or whether his dad's influence and last name were the only reasons he was even on an NBA roster in the first place. And then came the incident that changed everything about this conversation. In March 2025, Stephen A. Smith went on First Take and delivered a passionate, almost pleading 4-minute monologue directed at LeBron, begging him to stop this and stop exposing Bronny to NBA-level scrutiny, criticism, and backlash over his limited role and performance. It was pointed, it was emotional, it was uncomfortable to watch, and it clearly, undeniably got under LeBron's skin, because just days later, at a Lakers game in full view of courtside cameras and fans, LeBron walked up to Stephen A. Smith, loomed over him physically in a menacing and intimidating fashion, and reportedly said, "Stop F-ing with my son. That's my son." That moment became an absolute lightning rod for discussion. It wasn't just about LeBron defending his kid, which which any father would do. It was about LeBron using his power, his physical presence, and his status as the most famous athlete on the planet to send a very clear and deliberate message to the entire media landscape. Criticize my son, and you will deal with me personally. And that message was received loud and clear by everybody. Former NFL player Ryan Clark had a lot to say about it on the Pivot podcast. Clark argued that LeBron was sending the wrong message entirely, saying, LeBron James, more than any athlete I've ever seen, has shown a poise and composure when people are talking about him negatively. But now what you've told your son is, even though I wasn't above reproach, you are. Clark's point was simple, but incredibly powerful. LeBron built his entire legendary career by thriving under criticism, by absorbing the pressure and the hate, and using it as rocket fuel to become even greater. But now, with his own son, he was doing the exact opposite. He was shielding Bronny from the very thing that forged LeBron into the player he became. Clark also noted that Bronny benefits from all the positives of being a James, the higher draft spot, the NIL deals, the marketing opportunities, but LeBron was actively preventing him from dealing with the negatives that naturally come with that territory. And Clark wasn't the only person who felt that way. Former NBA player Gilbert Arenas took it even a step further with an argument that many people found compelling. Arenas argued that LeBron deliberately brought Bronny to the Lakers specifically for protection, saying, the only way LeBron can protect his son from all elements of everything is if he's in-house. He has more dictatorship with the Lakers. Arenas' argument was that on any other team in the league, LeBron wouldn't have the same level of control over how Bronny was treated, how many minutes he got, where he was assigned, or how the media talked about him. Only in Los Angeles, where LeBron's influence over the organization has been well documented for years, could he create that kind of protective bubble around his son. And look, the family toll from all of this has been very real and very emotional. LeBron's wife, Savannah James, admitted on her podcast, Everybody's Crazy, that the hate had deeply affected her as a mother, saying, I started to learn breathing techniques because I had to talk myself down from cussing people out. There's only so much that you could take, especially when these are kids. When a mother is literally learning breathing techniques just to cope with the things that strangers on the internet are saying about her son, you know the situation has gone way past normal basketball discourse and reached an entirely different level. But Bronny himself, he's actually handled it far better than most people in his position ever would. When asked about his growth and the challenges heading into the second half of the season, he kept things remarkably simple and grounded.
We gotta end the first stretch of the season off right, and hopefully come back the second stretch with a empty head and open mind and ready to win some games.
That's the mindset of a young man who is doing his absolute best to block out the noise and focus on what he can control. And when asked about how different he feels compared to his rookie year, his answer was honest and telling.
Feel different, feel way more comfortable. My team, my teammates believe in me, my coaches believe in me. That's all I wanted. So it's just good to get out there and take advantage of it.
And on the defensive end, which is supposed to be his calling card and his path to a long NBA career, Bronny has shown real legitimate flashes of promise. When asked about the challenge of guarding Victor Wembanyama, the tallest player in the entire league, Bronny didn't flinch even a little bit.
One of the smaller guys on the floor, guarding the tallest guy in the league, so it's definitely a challenge, but I'm up for anything.
That right there is heart, and you can't teach that. But the question that won't go away, no matter how many games Bronny plays or how well he defends, is this. Would Bronny even be in a position to guard Wembanyama on an NBA court if his last name wasn't James? That's the debate that absolutely refuses to die. Former Laker Kwame Brown has been one of the loudest and most persistent voices on this topic, repeatedly slamming the situation as pure nepotism, saying, LeBron James' situation just proved that politics isn't everything. And the sneaker controversy in January 2026 certainly didn't help quiet the critics. When Bronny debuted a personal signature logo on his Nike LeBron Witness 9 PE sneakers during a game against the Cavaliers, critics erupted online, pointing out that more accomplished and proven players didn't even have personal logos yet. The perception of favoritism has followed Bronny from the very beginning, before he even played a single regular season game. During the 2024 Summer League, an anonymous teammate expressed frustration, stating that Bronny was treated as someone apart, not like all of us, which created annoyance and hindered the group's ability to build chemistry. That's a terrible look for any organization. When your own teammates feel like one player is getting special treatment before he's even played a single real NBA game, it creates a dynamic that is incredibly hard to overcome, and one that poisons the well for everyone involved. So, is LeBron overprotecting Bronny? That depends entirely on who you ask and what lens you're looking through. If you're a parent, you probably understand the instinct to shield your child from hate and negativity and cruelty, especially when that hate is amplified by millions of people on social media who have nothing better to do than tear down a young man. But if you're a basketball purist, you might argue that LeBron is doing more harm than good by not letting Bronny sink or swim on his own merits, the same way LeBron himself had to do when he was just 18 years old in Cleveland with the weight of the entire basketball world on his shoulders. What comes next for the James family and the Lakers? So where does all of this leave us? We've got a bombshell report exposing deep and uncomfortable tensions between the Lakers owner and their biggest star. We've got a debate about whether LeBron James is overprotecting his son that has consumed the basketball world for well over a year now. And we've got a franchise that is trying to figure out its immediate and long-term future while navigating one of the most complicated and emotionally charged dynamics in NBA history. The question now is simple, but the answer is anything but. What happens next? Let's start with LeBron, because his situation is actually surprisingly straightforward when you break it down into its most basic components. Brian Windhorst laid it out perfectly on First Take.
Shay, I think LeBron's future is going to go one of three ways. One, he is going to leave in free agency and go somewhere.
That's option one. LeBron could leave the Lakers entirely and go chase one more ring somewhere else where the roster is better built for a championship run. And there's actually a very strong case for exactly that.
My attitude is if you really want to win, how about going back to Cleveland? Now, I'm not one to advise people to leave places like LA and Miami for Cleveland.
Stephen A. Smith has been beating this drum for a while now, and when you sit down and think about it objectively, the basketball logic absolutely checks out. Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell, one of the most explosive scorers in the league. They have Evan Mobley, one of the most versatile big men in basketball. They're already one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference without LeBron.
There is no doubt that the Cleveland Cavaliers would have been the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference, which would have given LeBron James a last chance at a championship.
A fifth championship would tie Kobe Bryant, it would tie Tim Duncan, and it would pull LeBron to within just one of Michael Jordan, for a man who has always been acutely aware of his legacy and where he stands in the all-time conversation. Whether he's willing to admit that publicly or not, that's an incredibly powerful draw. But then there's option two, which involves staying right where he is, but under very different terms.
The second thing he can do is he can stay at the Lakers, but he's got to take a pay cut.
And Windhorst explained exactly why that pay cut would be absolutely necessary for the math to work.
The Lakers currently spend $120 million on Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. All three of them are perimeter-based ball handlers who don't defend.
That's a fundamental structural problem that no amount of talent can fix on its own. When your three highest-paid players all need the ball in their hands to be effective, and none of them are elite defenders on the other end of the floor, the math simply doesn't work no matter how you arrange it. Something has to give, and the Lakers have been weighing roster flexibility over giving LeBron a max contract, which means that if LeBron wants to stay in Los Angeles, it's not going to be at the price tag he's been accustomed to for over 2 decades. And option three, well, that's the simplest and most final one of all.
Or number three, he can retire. Those are his three choices.
But here's what makes this whole situation so much bigger and so much more significant than just LeBron's next contract negotiation. It's about Bronny's future too. Because right now, Bronny's roster spot is widely viewed as being directly tied to retaining LeBron. Many analysts and insiders predict that his time in the NBA ends the moment his father walks away from the game. And that's a harsh and sobering reality for a 21-year-old who is just starting to find his footing as a professional basketball player. And yet, there are real and legitimate reasons to believe Bronny can carve out a career for himself that extends beyond his father's tenure. His second-year numbers show genuine and measurable improvement across the board. In 29 NBA games this season, he's averaging 2.2 points on 40% from the field and an impressive 40.7% from three. Those shooting percentages represent a massive jump from his rocky rookie year. And in the G League, he hasn't just been good, he's been flat-out dominant, putting up 22.6 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game. Insiders like Dave McMenamin have even predicted he could become a regular rotation piece by mid-season if his development trajectory continues on its current path, projecting him as a defense-first energy guard in the mold of players like Davion Mitchell or TJ McConnell. And when you actually listen to Bronny talk about his role and what he needs to do to contribute, he gets it. He understands exactly what his job description is on this team.
And that's my, role that I want to excel at, especially on this team. We have a lot of guys, Luka, LeBron, and AR, so those guys can go get buckets and whenever
we need them.
He knows the stars on this roster are the ones who get the buckets. His job, his identity, is defense, energy, effort, and making the right play every single time he's on the floor.
But, they need guys like myself, Vando, Jake, guys that can, defend and, definitely get more satisfaction out of that.
That kind of self-awareness and maturity is incredibly rare for a player this young, especially one who grew up watching his father dominate the league from courtside seats. And LeBron himself acknowledged just how impressed he's been with how his son has handled the entire whirlwind of this situation.
My sense is that he's better than I would have been in that situation. 20,000 fans screaming my name to get in the game.
Think about the weight of that statement for a second. LeBron James, a man who has played in front of sold-out arenas in the biggest games on the biggest stages for over 2 decades straight, openly admitted that his son handles the pressure and the expectations better than he himself would have at that age. That's not just a proud dad throwing out compliments. That's a man who has truly seen it all, acknowledging that his kid has something real and something special inside him.
As parents, you try to put them in a position that's at one point throughout their lives that maybe that dream can become a reality, if that's what they want to do.
And that's really what this entire sprawling, complicated, emotionally charged story comes down to at its core, isn't it? A father trying to give his son every single possible chance to succeed in life and in basketball. Some people look at that and call it overprotection. Other people look at that exact same thing and call it unconditional love and devoted parenting. The truth, as it usually does, probably lives somewhere right in the middle of those two perspectives.
To see that he is in the midst of his reality and his dream at the same time is just super cool for a parent.
LeBron followed that up with something that hit even harder and revealed a side of the father-son dynamic that the public rarely gets to see.
And to see what he does when the camera's just not rolling is even more gratifying.
And when LeBron was asked about what Bronny's middle school teacher said about his son being selfless, a quality that has nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with character, LeBron immediately gave all the credit to one person without even hesitating.
Well, Savannah is the rock in our household, and I spent a lot of time on the road, obviously for my career, and but Savannah sets down the law.
And then LeBron tied the whole thing together with a message that goes far beyond the basketball court and speaks to something much deeper and more universal about the kind of family the James household has built.
Because it don't cost you a dime to be nice to people.
At the end of the day, the Jeanie Buss report revealed real and uncomfortable tensions that the Lakers organization would have much preferred to keep behind closed doors. The overprotection debate surrounding LeBron and Bronny isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and LeBron's future with the Lakers, whether he stays at a discount, leaves for Cleveland, or hangs up the sneakers for good, is genuinely one of the biggest remaining questions in professional sports. But through all the noise, the drama, the hot takes, the anonymous sources, and the social media pile-ons, there's a father who brought his son into the family business because it was his lifelong dream. A son who is grinding every single day to prove that he belongs on his own merits, and a family that absolutely refuses to let the outside world break what they've built together. Whether you think LeBron is right or wrong for how he's handled things, whether you think Bronny earned his spot or was handed it on a silver platter, you have to respect one undeniable thing. The man has never once wavered in putting his family first. Above legacy, above money, above public opinion, above everything. And in a league and a world that chews people up and spits them out without a second thought, that might just be the most impressive thing about LeBron James. Love this video? Click on these cards for more.